friends. Today's video I'm going to be talking about a couple books that I've read, a couple I still haven't read, but basically my recommendations. If you are in therapy, EMDR therapy, IFS therapy, if you are dealing with trauma, PTSD, or anything really. I mean, these could be useful for people who don't have these issues, but these are books that were recommended to me by my therapist primarily. Yeah, we're gonna have a couple nonfiction books related to like psychology, trauma healing, that type of stuff. So, okay, so for the very first book I want to recommend, it's one I'm actually currently reading. Let me just set these down. One I'm currently reading, and that is No Bad Parts. This is the book written by the person who, I guess, founded IFS, so Internal Family Systems. If you don't know anything about IFS, basically it's this concept that all of us, regardless of whether or not we have a dissociative disorder, are made up of parts. And they're basically pieces of us that, for better or worse, are frozen at a certain time, either due to trauma or, I mean, even people without significant trauma have this, where it was critical things that happened in your life, right? So we all talk about like the inner child, that's a part. But this is the concept that we have more than just one part. And all of these parts make up ourself, and this form of therapy is actually kind of focused on integrating all of those parts more fluidly with the self, so that you don't feel so driven by like your inner child, or you don't feel so driven by an angry part of you or a people-pleasing part of you. So yeah, this book is really great. I'm almost halfway through it. I just got it yesterday, so it has a lot of modules and like worksheet type things you can work through. This is a great companion if you're in IFS therapy with a licensed therapist. This is great to have like on your own time to do some like kind of homework at home type thing. A lot of journaling you can do out of this. So yeah, highly recommend this book. If you are like me dealing with PTSD, complex trauma, or dealing with a dissociative disorder, then this is a really great type of therapy to look into if you're not already doing it. Mostly I recommend that one because I feel like people outside of those who deal with trauma can benefit from reading this book. Like, I feel like this book could help literally everybody understand themselves better. And it leans on mindfulness quite a lot and meditation practices. So if you're familiar with that type of stuff, it'll be pretty easy for you to understand. Okay, so the next book I'm recommending has to do with generational trauma, inherited trauma, and kind of the cycle of trauma through generations. And that is It Didn't Start With You, how inherited family trauma shapes who we are and how to end the cycle. This one I actually have not read yet, but I've heard really great things about it, especially if you're trying to understand trauma from a generational perspective. I hear this is like one of the most recommended books to read. All right, the next one is a little bit controversial because some people have criticized this book, not just the book, but the methodology, I would say, behind the concept of the book. This is a very popular book when it comes to talking about trauma, probably the #1 book that is mentioned when talking about trauma. And if you're familiar with this as a nonfiction category that you read, you probably know what book I'm going to talk about. And that's The Body Keeps the Score. Now, regardless of criticisms of this book, that aside, this can be really helpful for somebody who does not understand their trauma at all, doesn't understand how trauma affects things other than your thinking, your emotions. This could really help you understand how trauma can affect you somatically, physically, and like your physical health. Yeah, so I actually have not read this one yet. So I'm interested. I have been annotating all of these books as I'm reading them. So that's been fun, but I haven't read this one yet. This was one recommended to me when I first started at my therapy practice. So yeah, I haven't gotten to this one yet. I have a feeling this is going to be more of like an overview, broad lens on trauma. It may talk more about like what they call like a singular trauma. So instead of, it may not focus on complex trauma as much. I'm not sure. All right, so the next one, I've already read it to completion. I have annotated it. and worked my way all the way through it. This book really helped when I first started EMDR therapy specifically. It's Getting Past Your Past, Take Control of Your Life with Self-Help Techniques from EMDR Therapy. So this explains what to expect when you're going into EMDR. It has a lot of things that you can work through, journaling. I annotated, I highlighted, you know, I did the whole thing. This, I really took my time. I think I took like a month just to like slowly read it, like a chapter a day, and really absorb a lot of it. And I would go back to this, I feel like, if I needed to at this point. But this, combined with the No Bad Parts, great places to start if you're in EMDR or IFS or the combination of the two. This book, 5 out of 5 stars, by the way. I think I actually might have rated it 4. I'm not sure. But this was highly recommended when I first started therapy. Of course, my therapist finding out, you know, I'm a reader and that I'm going to be a librarian. They were like, here's some books you might want to read. And then we're amazed how fast I read them. So, and last but not least, if you have trauma associated with neglect, abuse, especially from a parent, then this may help. It doesn't, the title's misleading because you don't necessarily have to apply it to your mother. It could be either parent, really. Let's be real here. There are books that are catered specifically toward a father wound, but if you have a mother wound, the emotionally absent mother, this is about emotional neglect in childhood. This book, again, I annotated, I marked pages, I highlighted, I made notes. This was really helpful in kind of pinpointing memories for me, especially memories that I needed to address in EMDR, because a lot of this book, if you have trauma related to your childhood and parenting, this might bring up some things for you. So you want to take your time going through it and give yourself the space if you are not in a good place to read. Yes, if you're not in a good place to read things that might prompt some memories and triggering some things, some emotions that are hard to deal with, and take your time going through this. Don't be afraid to put it down. Honestly, this book caused a lot of tears, mostly because it's very validating. That's the other thing. If you are like me and you have gone through this stuff, you will find something in this book that validates you to your core, and you'll feel less alone when you read these books. This and the book on EMDR therapy will definitely help you feel less alone. It will help you feel validated and have good launching points going in to see a therapist, see a professional to help you. So yeah, if you're looking for like perspective on yourself, on the way you think, behave, feel, that type of stuff when it comes to being triggered. And if you're looking for even perspective on like the parent side and kind of trying to perhaps gain a little bit of compassion, not that forgiveness is needed, honestly. And there's a chapter on that you can have compassion for, you know, other people that harmed you without needing to forgive stuff. So anyways, those are the 5 books that I recommend you check out if you're looking to get into self-help stuff related to trauma, parental wounds, EMDR therapy, or IFS therapy. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.